Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Justin with Epic Game Time, and today we have a really awesome deck called God-Pharaoh's Gift in Standard. This deck is really cool, and it's playing with one of my favorite cards in Standard in a long time, which is Refurbish. And let me go ahead and break down the deck, and then I'll explain how it works, because this deck is a touch complicated, so I'm going to want to go over a couple things. So let's show you the list first, and then we'll go over all of its little intricacies. So first off is Hostile Desert. Let's go ahead and hit the show preview pane. Voila! Okay, Hostile Desert. One, colorless, tap for colorless mana, so it doesn't come into play tap. That's important. 2, exile a land card from your graveyard. Hostile Desert becomes a 3/4 elemental creature token. It's a man land. And all we have to do is exile a land from our graveyard, which is not a very tall order for this deck. We have 4 Ipnu Reveillette? Sure. Tap, add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool, or you can pay 1 life to get a blue mana, which is great. 1 in a blue, sacrifice it, target player puts the top 4 cards of his or her library. There's 4 of them, and it's a desert. All of that is important. Then we're going to have, and by the way, we're always aiming at ourselves with this. If we're going to use its last effect, the mill 4, always aim at yourself. Here we go. Irrigated Farmland. Just a nice cycle. Cycle lands are great. And it's a white-blue. This is a blue-white deck, so we want those colors. 3 islands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 plains. And then, of course, 4 port towns. Just great color fixing. Alright, let's get into the actual things. So we want Mausoleum Wanderer. Now this is going to seem really random. A lot of one drops, a lot of 2 or a lot of 3 drop creatures. The creatures aren't going to make sense if you don't know what this deck does, but hang in there with me. I promise I will make it make sense. So we got Mausoleum Wanderer, 1 blue flying. Whenever another spirit enters the battlefield, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And then of course it has the sack. Counter target instant or sorcery spell, unless the controller pays X, where X is the Mausoleum's Wanderer's power. It's just a 1/1 flyer. We'll come back to it, but there's 4 in the deck for a reason. Minister of Inquiries. Whenever Minister of Inquiries enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. Pay an energy, target player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. That's always going to target us. We want cards in our graveyard for this. I'll explain here in just a moment, but we're running 4 of them because we want cards in our graveyard. Strategic Planning. 1 in a blue, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand, the rest into your graveyard. Another way to get cards into our graveyard. It's a beautiful fixing. It's the anticipate we want. It's not instant, but sorcery is fine for what we're wanting, so we're going to run 4 of them. Then we have Sunscourge Champion. 2 in a white. When it enters play, gain life equal to its power. It's just a 2/3, so sometimes you're just going to play it as a 2/3 and it'll be fine. But it does have Eternalize. So for 4, and you get a discard a card, also important, because sometimes we do want to discard a card. It comes back as a token, and it's a 4/4 black zombie human wizard with no mana cost. So it becomes a 4/4 that when it comes into play, you gain 4 life. So you're going to get 4 life, you're going to get a 4/4, and you can do that pretty early, so that's exciting. He's an exciting creature. Then we have a Champion of Wits. Oh, and we're only running 3 of those. So Champion of Wits, when Champion of Wits enters the battlefield, draw cards equal to its power. If you do, discard 2 cards. As you notice, it only has 2 power, so you're going to draw 2, and then you have to discard 2, which is great, because there's a lot of times we'll want to discard something from our hand. So I'm totally happy doing that. Of course, it has Eternalize, which is a 7-cost Eternalize. We are not going to Eternalize this creature very often by itself. We're not going to use its Eternalize effect. We're going to use another one. But when it comes into play, that's great, because we're going to draw 4 and discard 2. So we're going to go ahead and run a full 4 of the Champion of Wits. Then now we're starting to get into the combo. Gate to the Afterlife. 3-cost artifact. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, which they will, often, you gain 1 life. So it's great life gain. So now we have 6 things that gain life in our deck. So red deck, win decks really don't play well against us. We have a pretty natural resistance to them. Then you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Great. We want to be discarding cards sometimes. But the really important thing is its next effect. 2, tap, sacrifice gate, search your graveyard, your hand, and or your library for a card named God-Pharaoh's Gift, and put it onto the battlefield. Now, that is important. We want God-Pharaoh's Gift. As many as we can get, as early as we can get it, we want God-Pharaoh's Gift on the battlefield. And I will explain what that does here in just a moment. But remember, you can only activate this ability if there are 6 or more creatures in your graveyard. Now, this deck, as you've noticed, we have a lot of, discard. We have a lot of mill. This deck gets 6 creatures in the graveyard very fast. Alright, now we have Refurbish. Refurbish is great. It can bring a Gate to the Afterlife back. It can bring our God-Pharaoh's Gift straight onto the battlefield. It can bring our Cataclysmic Gearhulk back. I love Refurbish. It's just a 3 of. I don't think you need 4, but 3 are wonderful. Then we have Angel of Invention. Hello to our closer. Angel of Invention costs 5. Flying Vigilance Lifelink. Fabricate 2. Other creatures you control get +1/+1. It's only a 2/1 for now. It will get bigger, and it will be mean. And this thing is how we're going to close out a lot of games. So we're going to run 4 of them. We want this thing in our graveyard as soon as possible. You want Angel of Invention in your graveyard immediately. Alright, now we have Cataclysmic Gearhulk. This is just a great one of against a bunch of these token decks, a bunch of the teamer aggro decks that are just filling the board. Cataclysmic Gearhulk is a great way to say, no, you can't do that. We're going to go ahead and reset the board because I only need 2 or 3 things on the board and you need a whole bunch. So we always have one, and the beautiful thing about being able to run one-ofs in this deck is we draw and mill through our deck very quickly. So you will see Cataclysmic Gearhulk way more than you actually think you will. Alright, then we have Farm to Market. This card I actually thought sucked when I first saw it. I was so against this thing because I just was like, wow. I can destroy target attacking or blocking creature for 3. And then its aftermath is just draw 2, discard 2. Well, the thing about it is this deck runs so tight, you really want this card because you want its second effect. You want the aftermath. And the farm ends up kind of being relevant because there's a lot of decks now that sort of invest everything into one creature and then attack with it. Well, okay, so if they attack, we can target that attacking or blocking creature and rip, gone. And then we get a great aftermath effect as well. So I don't think more than 2 is necessary. In the main deck, stick with 2. You'll hate yourself if you do any more. So 2's fine. So we'll go there. Now let's get to the real thing. The reason for the season, what this deck does. And what this deck does is the God-Pharaoh's Gift from Hour of Devastation. 7 cost artifact. We're not going to be hard casting this much. At the beginning of combat, on your turn, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 4/4 black zombie. It gains haste until end of turn. Yes, we have now given all of our creatures Eternalize, and it's a free Eternalize in our graveyard. So all of our deck does is we fill our graveyard up, we try to get a God-Pharaoh's Gift in our graveyard, we refurbish it back and or get Gate to the Afterlife to get it back early. So around turn 4 and 5, we're actually using God-Pharaoh's Gift on an Angel of Invention or Mausoleum Wanderer. Now all these things are flying 4/4s. Angel of Invention is even better because you still get Fabricate. So you're going to get a flying 6/6 with haste, vigilance, lifelink. I'm telling you, one hit with a 6/6 flying haste, vigilance, lifelink, that is a game changer, and it will usually win you the game. Ask anyone who played with Baneslayer Angel. The only thing Angel of Invention is missing is, way to protect itself in, first strike. But yeah, Angel of Invention is like a diet Baneslayer Angel. This thing is mean. It's a really mean flyer, especially with God-Pharaoh's Gift. And remember, these bad boys stack. If you have 2, you're going to be getting 2 Eternalized creatures with haste. This thing shuts out games fast. And there's not that much artifact hate anymore because they banned Aetherworks Marvel. So no one's really running that much artifact hate. The worst you're going to find with this deck is some people will run Graveyard Hate, but this deck can really get around it. Now, for our sideboard, 2 Fragmentize. Mardu Vehicles is still a thing. People will still play it because it's super consistent. Cataclysmic Gearhulks, for those people wanting to play tokens against you, well, you can smote them for having a bad idea. Then we have 2 Dispels, 3 Negates, and this is just your basic counter package. If someone's like, oh, I'm going to play a red-blue control deck and ruin everyone's day, you can side these bad boys in and go, nope, I'm going to go ahead and ruin your day when you try to save your entire turn for a Glimmer of Genius at 3 cards. Dispel, negate, good night. Then, of course, my favorite addition, Nimble Obstructionist. This thing is brutal. I've heard some people, some pros who are like, oh no, this card's not good. Are you ridiculous? This card is insane. It is bananas. It is first of all, it's a 3/1 for 3 flash flyer. That's all by itself is not bad. In limited, it's great. But in standard, I could maybe see it. Bird Wizard doesn't matter that much. It has cycling, but its effect, counter target activated or triggered ability you don't control. Are you kidding me? Alright, well, we're countering Planeswalker abilities, we're countering all of these desert abilities, we're counting any, Gate of the to the Afterlife. Why not? All of these random abilities, we get a counter. It is wonderful. And we get a draw. We get to cycle, so we hold it up, cycle it, it goes into our graveyard and it's a creature, so it's going to come back as a 4/4 flyer. Counter, stifle an ability. Oh man, this thing has everything we want. So 4 of them right off the bat. Now, there's a lot of decks that maybe won't have triggers, so we'll put these in the sideboard. But you're going to run into a couple Bristling Hydras. Bam, this is what you want to do. So we got some Bristling Hydra counter, a bunch of deserts. Those Desert Fog decks, this will take care of them. Then, of course, we have Crook of Condemnation. This deck's really good, and I expect to see a lot of it. Crook is pretty good against zombies, too. So, we put 2 in. To me, it's just a bad Relic of Progenitus, but we'll take it. And that's the deck. I hope you guys really have fun with this thing. It is really powerful, deceptively so, but it will take some while to get used to. It'll take a minute for you to play through and figure out when you should play certain things. Don't get frustrated. Keep playing. And I promise, once you get good, you're going to stomp people with this thing. I mean, absolutely stomp them. Because I know I've been stomping people with it, and it's been a good time. So, if you guys like what you saw, of course hit comment down below. Hit that like button. Hit that little jingle bell thing for notifications when new videos come out. My name has been Justin from Epic Game Time. You all have been my Epic viewer. I hope you guys do something epic today. Have a great day.